Okey, sekejap kenapa dia tak tu Sekejap biar saya akan masukkan sharing. Okey. Nampak this
Nampak.
Okay, alright. So untuk maklumat yang baru sampai ni, okey, saya akan masukkan Hairunnisa Yusof untuk join kita. For your information, siapa Encik Muhammad Fakhri tak dapat join untuk hari ni, dia akan join next week. Same time at 10:30 sebab dia kena travel offshore. Safety officer ni, dia punya kerja quite busy lah. Ada banyak schedule, so dia join kita next week 10:30 Friday. So for today, our lecture is more on chemical exposure to the industry. So why is important? Because as you all know, chemical ni very important and hazardous to health. Is a high risk, hazardous to human being. So Ministry of Human Resource under DOSH come out with this regulation under the OSHA Act. So the regulation called Occupational Safety and Health, use and standardized of exposure of chemical hazardous to health. They call it USE. Use and standardized of exposure of chemicals hazardous to health. Regulation 2000. So this chemical, this regulation is about the regulation to the industry that being exposed of chemical. So this is good topic for us to understand what the issue, what are the management in terms of industry that being exposed by chemical. So this is when talk about this regulation, the objective of this regulation is to rationale why it have this usage, rationale of usage 2000, and application of usage in 2000. The application of usage, who's what industry that apply this regulation, they have to use this regulation. And then there is 6 part under usage 2000. And then in this lecture, I will explain on the part 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is the scope that being covered under the USHE, the rationale of the regulation and the salient provision, the application and the definition of USE and definition of CHS, exemption, employer duties, conclusion and guideline under USHE regulation. So what is the rationale? So this regulation is for legal framework for the employer to control hazardous chemicals. So in industry that involve chemical activities, so there must be a framework. They have to comply that framework to control the hazardous of the chemicals. And then how they set the workplace to exposure standard. So as a human being, we as a human being will expose lot of the chemical punya things. For example, like carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the chemical punya hazardous. But as a human being, we are able to tolerate. There is a limit that we are able to tolerate. So in this regulation, they set a standard. So what are limit for this human being exposure? Then to promote excellent management of chemical hazardous to health. So when they have these activities of involved with chemical, they have to have excellent management. This to help to guide the industry when they involve with the chemical. And then to prevent the occurrence of occupational diseases, poisoning or adverse health effect. So as a worker, they will expose to the occupational diseases and poisoning. So how to prevent that? So when you smell the chemical or touch the chemical, it will affect your health. So this is the thing they have to know. As in the OSHA, employer have to give information regarding the adverse effect or the precaution to the worker. Whatever chemical being used, they have to have information, and that information have to be relayed to the worker. They have to share the information. So this you say is the sixth set of regulation made under the OSHA 1994 Act 514. So previously we already go through health safety committee, and then health and safety officer, and health safety officer order. This one, the sixth one, the sixth set of regulation. So this regulation 2000 being operate, they being enforced in April 4th, 2000. So this under this regulation, there is a salient provision. So there is many part. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 5, and Part 6. And Part 7. So all these things regarding the provision under this regulation. So in term Part 1, preliminary identification of chemical hazardous to health. Part 2, assessment of risk to health. Part 3, action to control exposure. Part 5 and Part 6, labeling and relabeling. Part 6 and Part 7, information, instruction and training. So this under this regulation, employer have to follow all this provision. If they involve in the chemical activity. And there is another part, they call it Part 8, monitoring of exposure at the place of work. This is Part 8. And Part 9, health surveillance. Part 10, mandatory removal protection. Part 11, warning sign. And Part 12, record keeping. Because when we involve with chemicals, is going to be so hazardous. So all these things have to be followed, right? When the industry involved in the chemical. And under this regulation, there is a schedule. I will highlight to you the use of permissible exposure limit. So every chemical under this regulation, there is a permissible exposure limit. And then under Schedule 2, there is a list of chemical for which medical surveillance is appropriate. So that is under the Schedule 2. So they have to do medical surveillance. And then Schedule 3, information on pesticide. Pesticide ni racun, racun serangga, racun tikus dan sebagainya. Schedule 3. So this regulation have to be applied to all places of work within the purview of the OSH Act 1994, where chemical hazardous to health are used. If in the public sector, in the government sector, if they work with the chemical hazardous to health, they have to follow this regulation. For example, like in our faculty, in our medical lab technology, probably, or environmental health, or OT also. If working with the activity involved chemical hazardous to health, they have to follow this regulation. So what the application except chemical which are defined as radioactive material under the Atomic Energy Licensing Act 1984. So, for example, like radio X-ray, radiography, X-ray, medical imaging. Medical imaging not under the USHE. They are all under radioactive material under the Atomic Energy Licensing Act 1984. And then foodstuff macam burger ke, they want not a chemical. They have other act or regulation. Then hazardous to health solely by virtue of their explosive or flammable properties, or solely because they are at a high or low temperature or high pressure. These, for example, like our gas kan, our gas station kita tu, macam Petronas kan dia ada pump stesen minyak tu. That one not under chemical. This one dia punya properties easily flammable. That one not under the chemical. Because they are the Petroleum Act. That one under Petroleum Act. Macam kita punya kalau kita isi minyak petrol, diesel, unleaded petrol or that one under Petroleum Act, because they are very flammable. Juga dia dapat temperatur yang tinggi boleh meletup. And pharmaceutical product, drug is under, they have the pharmaceutical punya act regulation. So definition of use, whatever activities involved with means of production, processing, handling, and storage, transport, disposal, and treatment. Wherever, for example, you use chemical for treatment of the water. So this is also under the regulation. For example, involve processing. Processing, for example, you use chemical to process for example, to process daging kan. Daging yang keras tu nak jadikan lembut, nak jadikan burger. So ada chemical yang you use. This is involve processing. And then production, you produce mass quantity of chemical also under this regulation. So definition of chemical hazardous to health is listed in the Schedule 1. Schedule 1 or 2. I will show you. I will show you the punya apa ni dalam schedule tu. Sekejap ya. Okay, so as you all know, so every week tu I supply you the actual punya regulation of act. So this USHE, apa ni, use standardized exposure chemical hazardous to health. Dalam bahasa Malaysia ni penggunaan dan standard pendedahan bahagian kimia berbahaya pada kesihatan. So in this regulation, there is a schedule. This is the way we read the regulation. And then at the end of this regulation, there is a schedule. For example, this one. This one, schedule 1. Nampak tak semua?
Nampak.
Nampak.
This one, so under schedule 1, there is a chemical, name of the chemical, and CAS ni chemical, dia punya number, chemical kalau di US dia chemical data sheet. Maksudnya dia punya serial number. Serial number di sini. For example, like adiponitrile. Adiponitrile is dangerous for our skin. Acrylamida, ini yang liquid. Liquid. Acrylonitrile. Dia akan kalau terkena kulit, dia so dia punya limitation. So dalam apa exposure ni dia ada dia punya limit, permissible limit dalam di dalam kandungan udara 8 jam. Kalau 8 jam bekerja, this is the thing that can be released. Kalau kerja, then the maximum, ini the kepekatan udara hard ceiling, then the limit. At any time, dia punya ruang dia kat sini. So, kalau you bekerja di industri, for example, apa yang you biasa dengar, dari segi chemical tu. Kalau biasa you dengar amonia kan? Amonia, contohlah bagi amonia. Ni amonia, amonia dia punya serial number dia 766-441-7. So at any time, not any time. When you working 8 hour working, 8 jam kerja, dia punya average sepanjang 8 jam tu dia tidak boleh, dia punya kepekatan tu kalau ikut meter 17 mg per cubic meter. Tidak boleh lebih daripada sini. See, this one. Ni dalam dia guna guna lama punya apa dia panggil saya pun dah lupa dah. Tapi kalau ikut yang standard punya worldwide dia panggil miligram per cubic meter. So kepekatan dia ni dia punya kalau you bekerja 8 hours average for 8 hours tak boleh lebih daripada ni 17 miligram per cubic meter. So siapa yang akan buat assess ni, dia ada dipanggil chemical hygiene, chemical assessor. Chemical assessor ni akan assess kandungan di udara tempat you bekerja tu tidak boleh melebihi 17 miligram per cubic meter. So contoh apa lagi? Contohnya carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide ni biasa kita dengar lah. Carbon monoxide. C. Kalau bahasa Malaysia dia K. Ini bahasa Malaysia kan? Sekejap. Kalsium. Kalau apa yang biasa chemical yang you biasa dengar lah, biasa guna di makmal apa dia? Okey, contoh macam hidrogen peroksida. Dia punya kepekatan dia, kalau 8 jam bekerja, average 1.4 mg per cubic meter. Macam itu. Contoh hydrogen cyanide ni. Hydrogen cyanide ni bahaya pada kulit. So kepekatan di udara sendiri at any time dia tak boleh lebih 47. Ini hard ceiling. Maksudnya at any time kalau you masuk dia punya kepekatan dia ni 4.7 ataupun 5 mg per cubic meter, you tak boleh. Dia tak boleh expose. Hydrogen sulfide. So the list of the chemical is under Schedule 1. Lepas tu ada lagi Schedule 2 apa? Schedule 2 ini bahan kimia yang baginya pengawasan perubatan adalah wajar. This is the list of chemical under health surveillance. Health surveillance maksudnya kalau ada industri yang melibatkan this chemical, they have to do a health surveillance. Health surveillance apa dia? Contoh dia ambil darah, dia check ada tak dalam kandungan darah dia apa chemical ni. Kalau dia so dia kena buat rutin check, rutin check darah, air kencing dan sebagainya. Ini contoh jadual 3 racun makhluk perosak. Racun makhluk perosak ni ini bahaya juga. So kalau ada racun perosak so pun under this regulation, tapi dia tak sebut sini racun perosak tu. Yang pernah saya gunakan malathion. Malathion memang kalau you tengok malathion tu dia ada label je. Dia ada sign, label, dan dia ada dia punya precaution. Kalau terkena, so what you going to do? Apa tindakan pencegahan dan sebagainya. So ada kat sini. Ni kalau jadual 3 dia akan ditekan penyataan ni nama. You have to spell out nama racun makhluk perosak tu. Jika ada nama, trend dan kimia, struktur formulanya dan nama kepekatan tiap-tiap unsur aktif racun makhluk perosak. Nama dan kepekatan, maklumat toksikologi, arahan bagi langkah-langkah pencegahan. Kalau terkena, apa yang patut kita buat. Nama, alamat dan nombor telefon pembekal, pembekal dan pinggiran racun pun. This is the under regulation yang saya dah cakap tadi. Talking about the schedule. The schedule 1 and 2. Schedule 1 is the limit of chemical. It can be 8 hour average, or at any time cannot exceed the limit. Schedule 1. Schedule 2, list of chemical that have to be apa ni, under apa, health surveillance, health surveillance. This the exemption, as you all know, radioactive, macam medical imaging, all that, not under this act. And then foodstuff, pharmaceutical, and also this yang melibatkan explosive, flammable due to their properties. For example, like petrol or that, not under this regulation. So what are the employer duties? Employer duties is to identify of chemical hazardous to health. So employer have to identify if they work at certain chemical, they have to identify the name of the chemical, dia punya serial number, dia punya limit 8 hours average or at any time cannot be exposed to what level, dia punya precaution dan sebagainya. This call it identification of chemical hazard to health. Permissible exposure limit that I've told just now, 8-hour average or at any time. You cannot, human being cannot expose to that limit. And then they have to do assessment of risk to health. They have to check dia punya dia punya cardiorespiratory, dia punya blood dan sebagainya. No, assessment of risk to health is that, they have to call the chemical assessor. They have to call chemical assessor. The chemical assessor have to assess, or they have to measure. They have to measure, and then they will mapping out where the area that is a high risk to health. This kandungan apa chemical tu dalam udara di tempat dia bekerja. They call it assessment of risk to health. Action to control measure. So what action? What are the control measure, exposure measure employee going to do? For example, they have to use PPE, a type of PPE. Then they have to do labeling and relabeling. They kena label. If this thing have to, kalau dia dah transfer that chemical to other place, or they change to the punya container dan sebagainya, dia kena relabel. And then there is information, instruction and training. So there is information and instruction, cara-cara penggunaan and also training. Training. This is the employer's duties regarding to the usage regulation. And then also they have to monitor of exposure at the place of work. So they have to monitor 8 hourly or at any time. So berapa banyak kandungan chemical itu di tempat kerja, and shouldn't be exceed the limit. And then they have to do health surveillance. Health surveillance, they check dia punya cardio respiratory. And then they have to do medical removal protection. Medical removal protection is an administration control measure. For example, wanita yang pregnant, dia ada health risk issue. So for example, they exceed dia punya kandungan darah, detect there is a chemical punya exposure lebih dari sepatutnya, dia kena remove. Dia sakit ke dan sebagainya, dia tak boleh masuk kerja. This is employer's duties. And then they have to put warning sign, and then they have to do record keeping. Kena record apa-apa yang berkaitan dengan dengan chemical. This one, hazardous of chemical hazardous to health, regulation 5.2. So list of chemical hazardous to health use. This one, chemical safety data sheet. So every chemical must come together with the data, safety data sheet. So dia ada, kalau tak silap saya ada 10-12 perkara. And then they have to identify the average quantity used for 8-hour working. Berapa banyak average quantity used. So they have to identify whether it's within the limit or not. The process and work area where the chemical are used, and then name and address of the supplier of each chemical. So name and address of the supplier of each chemical must be identified. This is one way to manage the hazardous chemical. So when talk about permissible exposure, so there is a ceiling limit. So yang dalam schedule 1 tu at the second column, they call it ceiling limit. Ceiling limit means the airborne concentration that should not be exceeded during any part of the working day. So at any time, then they work, they shouldn't access the ceiling limit. And then the first column to 8-hour time weighted average, total weight average, dia panggil 8-hour time weighted average, TWA. TWA is average airborne concentration over 8 hours. So for example, chemical assessor will measure what are the airborne concentration. Dia punya average for 8 hours. This one. Then another one they call it maximum exposure limits, means a 15-minute total time weight average airborne concentration 3 times the 8-hour TWA. This means a maximum exposure limit. Exposure limit mean 3 times the 8-hour TWA dalam masa 15 minit. Kalau dia dalam masa 15 minit, dia punya tu kali 3, it mean dia dah capai maximum exposure limit. Kalau dalam masa 15 minit, dia punya 3 kali time weight average, they call it maximum exposure limit. Kalau dalam masa 15 minit, 3 kali TWA, it mean they already expose maximum. Dia tak boleh kerja dah. Kalau dia punya reading TWA 3 times. They call it, this is the definition of permissible exposure limit. So, in terms of permissible exposure limit, an employer shall ensure that no person is exposed or likely to be exposed to any chemical hazardous to health. So employer ni mesti pastikan nobody being exposed or likely to be exposed to any chemical hazardous to health if above the ceiling limit at any time. Kalau dia masuk je ceiling limit dia, dah lebih ceiling limit, dia tak boleh expose. Above the 8-hour time weighted average airborne concentration specified for that chemical in Schedule 1. So, kalau dia bekerja 8 jam, dia punya average concentration tidak boleh melebihi TWA. Above the maximum exposure limit during the work shift. Kalau dia kerja shift, katakan dia being exposed 15 minit, so dia punya value 3 times of TWA, dia tak boleh dah bekerja kalau dia kerja kerja shift. So in terms of assessment of risk to health, employer need to conduct written assessment before starting any work using chemical hazardous to health. So before starting working at chemical punya activity, they have to buat medical check-up. Medical dia buat X-ray, dia buat apa ni, bleeding test, dia check darah dia. So orang ni berisiko ke tidak untuk bekerja. So within 1 year from the effective date of this regulation for this, so regulation tu 2000. So ni within 1 year ni dia bagi tempoh lah pada majikan pada 2001 sampai April sampai 2000 April sampai 2001 April. Dia kena sebelum bekerja mesti buat assessment risk to health. Sekarang kalau automatic siapa yang bekerja dekat area chemical industry, they have to do this risk assessment of risk to health. So the assessor, nobody yang semua bukan doktor boleh buat. Dia yang assessor ni yang registered with DOSH, conduct assessment. So ada doktor dia daftar sebagai registered competent assessor. So dia ni public health doctor lah. Public health doctor. Dia walaupun di public health doctor, dia kena register. Dia kena register dekat DOSH. So what are the assessment content? Content is the potential risk to an employee as a result of exposure to chemical hazardous to health. Dia kena assess employee ni ada tak potential risk. Kalau yang ada asma dan sebagainya. The method and procedure adopted in the use of chemical hazardous to health, the nature of the hazard to health, the degree of exposure to such chemical, the risk to health created by their use and their release from work process, measures and procedures required to control the exposure of employee to chemical hazardous to health. So this competent assessor ni, dia akan tengok the assessment they have to do, potential risk to an employee kalau dia exposed to chemical hazardous, nature of the hazard to health, dia kena tengok chemical tu macam mana nature dia, degree of exposure, the risk to health created by their use and their release from work process, procedure required to control the exposure. So kadang-kadang dia kena cadangkan assessment itu kena cadangkan betul tak prosedur itu untuk control exposure of employee. And then and also the measures, procedures and equipment necessary to control any accident emission of a chemical hazard to health as a result of the leakage. So dia pun kena tengok prosedur kalau worker being exposed to the chemical ni, for example like leakage, tiba-tiba ada kebocoran, tumpah, tengah transfer chemical tu tumpah. So what are dia punya prosedur? Contoh macam dekat highway kan, kalau you tengok dekat highway, kalau ada lori tangki yang bawa chemical, highway highway lebuh raya utara selatan ni dia kena ada prosedur. Prosedur dia, pernah tak you experience kalau ada leakage dekat tangki minyak, lori tangki tu, bukan minyak, lori chemical tu terbalik. Semua kena berhenti, jarak dia berapa, tak boleh siapa yang lalu. Dan dia panggil bomber. Bomber akan akan buat pembersihan dan sebagainya. Bila dah confirm, barulah dia boleh benarkan kita lalu. Saya pernah alami benda tu, tersangkut dekat highway lama jam, berapa jam. The necessity for employee exposure monitoring program, so dia kena assess, employer tu kena masuk monitoring program. Okay, the necessity for a health surveillance program, and also the requirement for training and retraining of the employee. So, chemical assessor ni akan catatkan ataupun public health doctor yang registered tu, dia akan buat ni. So, there also employer also have to act if there is to control measure. So bila dia dapat report daripada assessor tu, chemical assessor tu, the employer shall take action to control exposure as recommended by the assessor. Assessor ni akan recommend apa control measure yang sesuai dari segi engineering, dari segi administratif, dari segi PPE, apa yang patut employee buat. So they have to take action within 1 month. So this may include changes in work process, practice, procedures or plan, or engineering control, equipment to reduce the exposure level to the lowest practicable level. So dia kena adakan paling bagus kita buat engineering control. Engineering control. For example, dia kerja dengan chemical dalam bangunan, so you kena buat you boleh cadangkan, dia akan cadangkan buat aliran udara. Aliran udara, alirkan udara tu keluar dan ganti udara baru. Dipanggil dipanggil kita ada dekat line tu. So ada kipas yang sedut udara. Dia akan cadangkan. And then they also have to label. Duty of employer to ensure that all hazardous chemicals supplied or purchased and all containers in use at the place of work are properly labeled. Mesti label. Letak tanda. Kalau poison dia macam mana. Poison ni biasanya gambar tengkorak kan. Gambar tengkorak tu. So kita tahu. Ini bahaya chemical ni. Relabel if removed, defaced, modified or altered. Dia mesti relabel balik kalau ditanggalkan, ditukar, modified ke kena ada label. Then contents of container not used within normal shift. Dia ada yang biasa guna, ada yang disimpan je. Kena juga. Used within normal shift is relabeled with chemical name or trade name as written on the original label. Dia kena ada nama chemical tu. Siapa yang pengeluar, syarikat mana keluar, mesti letak. If the chemical used in a testing chemical laboratory, the container shall be relabeled whether or not the contents are used within a normal worksheet. Dia kena label walaupun tempat testing. Container need not to be relabeled if the chemical hazardous to health is used immediately. Need not be relabeled. Kalau dah guna, dah habis pakai, tak payah relabel. So for the purpose of this regulation, labeling and relabeling means labeling or relabeling according to dia ada Chemical Packaging Labeling Regulation 1997, Pesticide Act 1974, or Schedule Waste Regulation 1989. So the employer also have to provide information, instruction, training to employees who may be exposed or is likely to be exposed or to a hazardous chemical. From the information, instruction and training given, the employee should be able to know the risk to health created by such exposure. So dalam information tu, dalam instruction tu kena beritahu kalau terkena gas, contoh gas amonia, apa akan berlaku? Ia akan batuk, sesak nafas. So you kena bagi information. Then the precaution that should be taken. Precaution, kadang-kadang ada chemical tu bila bercampur dengan air dia meletup. Kan? Ada chemical tu. Dia tak boleh campur dengan air. Bila campur air dia akan meletup. Results of any health surveillance program. Ada, kalau dia ada buat health surveillance program, apa result dia tu? They have to inform to the worker. And then training. Training employer to conduct and to review the training program once in 2 years. Dia kena training. Employer ni kena train. If there is new job assignment, they have to train also. If changing the hazard information, safe work practice or control measure. Kalau dia hazard tu bertukar ataupun safe work practice dia dah bertukar, dia punya control measure pun dah bertukar, dia kena beri maklumat pada employee. And then it must be documented. Training program ni must be documented and kept for inspection. So dia kena simpan. Kalau dia dah buat latihan, instruction dan sebagainya, dia kena simpan. Information and instruction and supervision of person must be given by employer to employee and person who carries out any work connected to the employer involved chemical hazardous to health. So information, instruction, supervision of person tu yang supervise semua tu kena ada information tentang chemical hazardous to health. Chemical safety data sheet, they call it chemical safety data sheet ataupun CSDS regulation 34. Employer must obtain label CSDS. Chemical hazardous to health received without label and CSDS not to be used until such information is obtained. Kalau company tu dapat chemical tapi dia tak ada label and then tak ada chemical safety data sheet CSDS, dia tak boleh gunakan. Tak boleh buat langsung, tak boleh buka kalau tak ada label. Chemical safety data sheet or copy kept close to chemical work area. Dia mesti letak berdekatan dengan tempat dia bekerja, and easily accessible to employees. So employees can baca, tengok apa jenis chemical, apa dia punya adverse health effect, apa dia punya precaution, dan sebagainya. So monitoring of exposure at the place of work. This one under regulation 36, 1, 2, 3, 4. Employer required to ensure the maintenance of control measure is adequate. Control measure mesti mencukupi. Carry out using approved method and analysis. So exposed to schedule 2, chemical hazardous to health, monitored at interval or shorter determined by the assessor. Kalau ada chemical yang listed under schedule 2, dia kena buat health monitoring of their health. Sebulan ke 3 bulan sekali. Depend on the assessor punya report lah. Siapa yang conduct ni dipanggil hygiene technician. Hygiene technician. Ini yang orang expert. Except checking gases in the confined area. So siapa yang pakar menilai ini lah hygiene technician. So monitoring of exposure at the place. So the record keeping must be kept for personal exposure macam employee yang dia bekerja dekat kilang tu, dia kena simpan 30 tahun. At least 5 years in any other cases. Kalau ada benda-benda lain, at least 5 years. Tapi untuk personal exposure pada pekerja dia mesti simpan 30 tahun. Sebab apa? This chemical is a chronic issue. Dia bukan acute. Kadang-kadang dia lama 25 tahun barulah nampak kesan. So bila dapat bukti, because due to the work punya poisonous of working condition or diseases, dia boleh claim pada PKSO kan. Boleh dapat pencairan ilat kalau dia tak boleh bekerja langsung, dapat bantuan dan sebagainya, rawatan, medical treatment or rehab kan. So health surveillance, what does the health surveillance do? So indicate by assessment result employee exposed or likely to be exposed. So employee yang exposed tu mesti buat health surveillance. Sorry guys, hujan lah ni time tengah hari dia buat kerja. Orang sebelah ni memang sukalah memaku sana maku sana. Yeah. So who's the person yang competent tu? Occupational Health Doctor, OHD, Occupational Health Doctor. Exposed to Schedule 2 yang saya baca tadi, listed chemical in Schedule 2, 12 months interval or less. So setiap tahun orang yang exposed dekat Schedule 2 chemical, they have to be buat health surveillance. Apa health surveillance dia buat tu? Itulah check dia punya cardio respiratory, dia punya blood, air kencing, dia buat x-ray dan sebagainya. Then they have to record all these health surveillance 30 years. 30 years lama kan, sebab this nature of disease or poisonous ni, chemical, due to chemical is a long chronic case. Kalau didapati occupational doctor cakap dia ni penyakit disebabkan pekerjaan, dia boleh mohon bantuan PKSO ataupun dia boleh saman majikan guna top law kan, top law untuk dapat mampasan. Maintain for inspection. Employees allowed to access health surveillance record after notice. So, saya nak masukkan Yasmin ni, kesian Yasmin keluar masuk. So employees allowed to access. I mean, the worker have a right to know dia punya health status. Dia kena bagi notice lah. Dia sudah punya right pada occupational doctor tu untuk tengok keputusan dia punya health surveillance. This one very important, medical removal protection. So employees yang be detected have medical condition at increased risk to health must be removed. For example, dia ada asma ke, dia semput ke, kan? Ataupun dia ada anemia ke. Anemia probably due to the chemical problem, hazardous. Shall not allow pregnant or breastfeeding employee who is exposed to chemical hazards to have to work be notified by occupational health doctor, medical practitioner. So, employee yang pregnant tak boleh dibenarkan bekerja kat situ. Worker have to protect. This is under the regulation. Breastfeeding, dia dah lahirkan baby, dapat baby, dia breastfeeding baby. Selama 2 tahun, 3 tahun, dia tak boleh. Sebab apa? Sebab breastfeeding ni, so chemical tu boleh terkena ataupun dia punya, kalau dia di udara, dia akan melekat ke breast. So baby feed to breast, baby pula poisonous pada baby. Return to former job when no longer we detect medical condition, no longer pregnant, breastfeeding. Tidak guys, Okay, this one very important. Then they have to record all dia punya finding. Warning sign, ni warning sign have to put in. The employee shall ensure that warning signs are posted at conspicuous place at every entrance of the area. One person entering the area of the hazard. So for example, be aware apa gambar apa tengkorak ke kan. Tu dia ada label-label dia apa dalam chemical packaging and labeling ada. Other relevant information are given to person who may or likely to be at risk of being affected by the chemical hazardous to health. Information dengan sign kena letakkan depan pintu, depan area bekerja. So this warning sign features illuminated, clean, legend visible, give warning of hazard, written in bahasa and English. Kadang-kadang pekerja tu Bangladesh. Boleh tak dia faham bahasa ataupun English? For example, like majority is Nepalese, Nepal kan, pekerja Nepal. Tapi Nepal ni tak boleh cakap bahasa Malaysia dan bahasa Inggeris. Semua, majority. Almost 99% Nepal punya pekerja. So you kena tulis dalam bahasa dia lah yang dia faham. Printed in dark red, white background. So, in terms of record keeping, retention of record by employer, hand over record to successor. If they want the employer dah nak tutup bisnes, the orang lain beli bisnes dia, they have to hand over record to successor. Transmit record to DG if no successor. Kalau dia cakap bankrupt, dia nak tutup dah dia punya factory tu, dia kena hantar dia punya record tu pada ketua pengarah DOSH. Kalau tak ada if no successor. So notify the DG 3 months in advance for record disposal. Kalau dia nak buang record tu, dia kena notify 3 months pada DG in advance, in written pada ketua pengarah DOSH. Record have to be maintained. Assessment report, engineering control, info, instruction and training, monitoring of exposure, health surveillance. Health surveillance also kena. Record to dispose after 30 years. Assessment report, monitoring of exposure and health surveillance. So after 30 years, barulah boleh musnahkan maklumat tersebut. So what are the penalty? Penalty for any section to under this regulation. So for people or employer who are not comply to the regulation, so the maximum fine 10,000 denda 10,000 or 1 year jail term or both. Both. 10,000 and 1 year jail. Continue offense, so dia buat lagi. Siapa dah bagi apa ni prohibition apa notification to stop order ataupun apa improvement, dia masih buat lagi. So maximum fine 1,000. Daily doing with the offense continue. So conclusion for this topic, legal framework to control chemical hazardous to health. Then you need, if you work at this chemical industry, you have to know the exposure, the limit of exposure. It can be ceiling limit. It can be TWA, average of 8 hours. And then maximum limit. Maximum limit, 15 minutes, 3 times of TWA. For example, yang kerja shift kan, tiba dia masuk je, katakan kerja shift habis pukul 2 atau habis pukul 7 katakan. So orang ni masuk dia kena 3 times of TWA, 15 minit dia duduk situ, dia tak boleh expose 3 times. Prevent loss and safeguard person health. Ini penting. The safeguard of person health. So dalam guideline ada USHE banyak. Guideline, this one registration of assessor, hygiene technician, occupational doctor. So this one yang melibatkan apa ni? This one dia ada dia punya regulation. Guideline for operation of chemical register, control of chemical hazardous to health, and guideline of medical surveillance and assessment of health risk. Ada dalam kat DOS, tapi saya tak pergi detail lah. Kita tahu benda yang basic cukup lah tentang USHE. Alright. So ada soalan tentang topik ni? Bagus you all tak keluar. Siapa ada soalan tentang topik USHE ni? Faham tak?
Doktor.
Tak ada soalan. Yasmin okey, faham Yasmin?
Yang maximum exposure limit tu tak faham sangat.
Okay, first there is one is they call it dia ada 3 tu kan. First kali ceiling limit. Ceiling limit ni at any time dia tak boleh melebihi ceiling limit. For example, you sebagai pelawat tiba-tiba you datang masuk kilang tu kan. Chemical assessor dia check. So you kalau you tak boleh lebih dia punya ceiling limit at any time. Ada dipanggil TWA, total average. Total average ni yang 8 jam. So chemical assessor tu akan measure 8 jam. Dalam masa 8 jam tu apa average airborne concentration tempat tu. So the third one, maximum exposure limit. Maximum exposure limit ni kadang-kadang dia tak bekerja 8 jam. Dia kerja shift, dia kerja sebelah pagi gitu kan. Tapi dia kerja 4 jam je. Tapi bila dia duduk kat situ, dia punya dia duduk dalam 15 minit, 15 minutes. Dia punya airborne concentration tu 3 times of TWA. 3 times average 8 hour airborne concentration kat situ. Dia panggil maksimum. Dia kerja 15 minit tapi dia tak boleh lebih 3 times of TWA. This one maximum exposure limit. Faham Ismin?
Okay, faham. Terima kasih tu.
Cuba you baca balik tu nota tu, then you dapat faham lah what is the difference of ceiling limit, total weight average of 8 hours working, and maximum exposure limit. Three things. Okay, yang lain? Okay, before that, apa ni, ada tak I bagi kat you all guideline? Apa yang you all kena share guideline?
Stress.
Stress. How, apa dia dipanggil, siapa yang cakap tadi? Okay. So dalam apa saya bagi, sebenarnya silap tu patut saya bagi yang lain, tapi you dah dapat tu. Ya. Guideline apa dia panggil?
Vibration ke?
Vibration ke stress?
Vibration tak ada. Betul masukkan yang stress.
Saya cakap
Dan kepanasan di tempat kerja.
Stress di tempat kerja kan? Stress di tempat kerja is one of the guideline talking about apa stress tempat kerja. So anyone can share. Tekanan ke keganasan network? Bukan Stress
Stress and violence.
Stress and?
Stress and violence.
Oh, stress and violence. Okay. So boleh share. Siapa yang tadi cakap tadi? Bagus tu topik tu Stress and violence at work. Sekejap this one. Guidance for prevention of stress and violence at work. So, it's good for us as ONOT to understand what is the punya guidance, how to guide prevention of stress and violence at the workplace. Anyone? Can you all share? Semua senyap je. Nak kena identify dulu barulah boleh. So Yasmin, boleh ceritakan tentang this guideline? Dah baca dah Yasmin?
Dah baca.
So what is the guideline about?
Guideline ni dia cakap banyak pasal stres dengan yang keganasan kat tempat kerja tu. Lepas tu dia bagi semua definisi apa yang employer boleh buat untuk kurangkan. Contoh dia macam communication, hubungan antara pekerja dengan employer kena baik. So macam lagi senang nak bekerja, teamwork lagi bagus.
Alright, lagi good. Lagi?
Lepas tu ada cakap pasal gender. Dia cakap perempuan lagi senang nak kena yang tekanan yang keganasan ni. Tapi macam tak boleh nak stereotype kat situ je. Macam perempuan lelaki dua-dua boleh kena.
Perempuan senang melenting kot kan? Dia senang under stress. Saya pernah pengalaman meeting, bos dia perempuan ni. Menjerit-jerit dia perempuan ni. Saya pun heran lah. Yelah, kadang-kadang whatever she direct tu, daripada dah lama dah dia bagi direction tu. Semua buat tak tahu. Menjerit-jerit. Perempuan memang senang stres. Tapi kalau saya pun lagi stres kan. Kalau tak ikut. Sama je kan. So dalam guidance ni, the guidance ada talking about panduan. So talking about apa ni? Serangan. Attack apa dia? Boleh lagi Yasmin? Ceritakan Yasmin. Macam
Lepas tu dia ada banyak checklist
checklist.
Ha.
Check ni.
Pasal stres tu apa.
Checklist ni
Ah,
apa kalau you sebagai contoh safety officer kerja kat situ kan, you want to check the worker ni under stress or not. So this checklist can apa identify kan.
mm-mm.
Boleh identify dia punya stress level tu. Adakah dia bekerja dalam keadaan tertekan dan sebagainya. Lagi bagus. Yasmin lagi?
Lepas tu kan tadi yang checklist untuk stres. Lepas tu ada checklist untuk yang keganasan tu. Assault juga.
Assault. Ada tempat apa kalau tempat tu ada yang kena bully kan? Kena
Pasal ada yang macam lagi senang jumpa dengan public tu lagi bahaya.
ya. Yang kerja marketing kan? Marketing. So kalau
Kerja kat hospital pun bahaya.
kerja hospital pun bahaya. So what?
Sebab yang tunggu tu yang stres nak tahu result. So kita kena macam berhati-hati nak cakap dengan orang tu.
Yang nak tahu result dia tu kan? Okay. So kalau you sebagai OT, kalau orang tu under stress di tempat kerja, what you going to do? Katakan you dah kerja dekat bahagian health department ni, dekat company, big company. So kalau orang tu dalam keadaan stres, what you going to do? Yasmin, what are you going to do?
Mungkin boleh dengar dulu apa masalah yang dia hadapi.
Yes.
So,
You identify. Identify what are the things that cause stress to them, kan? What are the things that can cause stress to them? So probably stress ni can be due to dia punya immediate boss ataupun stress rumah tangga kan. Kita tahu stress ni macam-macam. Everyone have to encounter stress ataupun work schedule yang very tight ataupun banyak kerja sangat. So you need to identify what the cause of the stress of the worker. Then you come up with strategi lah. For example like coping skill. Kan? Coping skill. Kalau stres ni kadang memang kita tak boleh terlalu buat apa-apa. But how to cope with the stress. Apa contoh? Macam mana nak cope stress ni? Yasmin. Yang lain pun boleh sambung lah. Boleh bantu Yasmin ni. Senyap je yang lain. Ada ke tak ada?
Malu, doktor.
Apalah malu. Jangan malu-malu. Coping skill, for example, kan? How to relax yourself. Relax. Kan?
Communication.
Improve communication. Time management. Ajar dia macam mana nak schedule time, nak put the priority first, nak manage stress ni pun boleh juga guna
Breathing technique.
Deep breathing technique, visualization, imagination, kan? Role play. For example, like the problem of communication skill, how to say no. Kadang ada orang ni sebab stres, sebab dia kata, no, I cannot do it. Itu masalah. Kadang orang kata, boleh, done, tapi sampai masa tak buat juga. Dia pun under stres, dah banyak kerja. Tiga orang, dia kena open You kena berani to say no. Kan? I cannot do it, it's too much for me. Takkan bos. Yelah, tapi benda tu kalau dah menimbulkan stres pada you tak boleh cope. Tapi commit lagi tambah stres. Contohnya lah. So OT can do a lot of things. Dekat when talk about stress, tempat kerja ni. Boleh bantu employer. And then violence tu macam mana? Anyone can talk about violence at work? Anyone? Atina? Atina, can you talk about violence at work?
Contohnya macam kena bully.
Bully. Okay. So, bully ni banyak jenis kan?
Ada suruh buat kerja lebih ke.
Lagi?
Macam pihak atasan sepatutnya tu kerja dia tapi dia bagi yang pihak bawah buat kerja dia sebab dia macam tak nak buat kerja tu.
Sorry lah, ada orang pula buat bising kat sebelah rumah. Inilah kalau dekat rumah mesti ada masalah tu. Siang hari janganlah ketuk-ketuk kan. Weekend boleh. Atina cakap. Tadi apa Atina cakap tadi? Atina?
Bos baru bekerja.
Macam pihak atasan bagi kerja lebih kepada orang bawah. Macam kerja dia tu dia bagi kat orang lain buat.
Itu pun kira under violence juga Bully. Kena bully lah. Lagi?
Bully secara mentally
Kan?
mentally abuse.
Mentally abuse. Kalau you sebagai OT kat sana, apa you buat? You baca guideline. Guideline is you for your future work juga you boleh gunakan di guideline. Apa yang boleh you lakukan kalau yang ada keganasan sebagainya? Atina?
Mana doktor?
What you can do? What ada punya garis panduan kalau ada keganasan tempat kerja? Garis panduan keganasan di tempat kerja. Apa dia? Tak baca lah tu.
Buat pencegahan dan penyertaan yang sistematik.
Yes, okay, good. Pencegahan dan yang sistematik So apa dia? Apa dia tidak? Dah tak baca campur tangan pada individu. Campur tangan, latihan, kecergasan apa ni. Ni untuk runding cara. Runding cara ni counselling, feedback, kena report and record, kan? Kena assess, itu semualah. Kena ada policy, standard dan sebagainya, kan? Ni semua ada dalam guideline prevention of stress and violence at work. Nanti you ada masa lapang, baca ni. It's good for you in future kalau you practice as an OT or as a consultant ke atau manager ke kan. Dia juga lain good for you. Okay, so next week I nak you baca tentang guideline tentang sebab kita baru belajar chemical kita belajar indoor air quality, guideline of indoor air quality. Ada tak dalam you punya apa ni apa tu week 5 punya maklumat tu. Guideline, this one guideline indoor air quality. Saya akan tunjukkan you. Okay, nanti for next week you all baca this guideline. This indoor air quality. This is synonym with the USAID punya regulation lah. So indoor air quality. Sini ada guideline tentang indoor air quality, berapa dia punya temperature, dia punya suhu, dia punya apa ni, apa macam mana nak manage, apa dia punya proses, latihan, record, dan sebagainya. Ya. Okay. So, you got any question tentang apa this topic? You share. So we are in the 5th week. Ada lagi berapa minggu lepas tu you break bila Lagi 2 minggu
Ada lagi 2 minggu, doktor.
Okey, tahan lah.
Kita start 28, 11.
Tapi boring juga kan duduk kat rumah tak jumpa kawan-kawan, tak ada aktiviti. Tengok ada gangguan, macam-macam gangguan. Boleh as long you boleh concentrate, should be no problem kan. Kalau tak boleh concentrate, tu yang problem. Kalau tak boleh concentrate, actually you can come here kan. Tak ada isu kan, boleh datang belajar kat sini kat college.
Tak boleh, PKPB.
PKPB? Ya.
PKPB tak boleh rentas.
Tak boleh rentas? Duduk mana?
Duduk Kedah.
Duduk Kedah? Tapi kalau untuk tujuan belajar tak boleh Tapi
boleh, kena buat surat.
Kena surat. Kalau degree, I think degree tak boleh. Kalau yang buat research juga. Research. Tapi kalau you katakan tak boleh belajar, you become disadvantage. Become disadvantage macam internet problem. You tak boleh concentrate belajar, adik-adik ramai kan. Actually you can come. Itu yang saya faham lah. You duduk kat college, you guna sumber yang ada, you boleh datang actually. Tapi dengan permohonan kepada polis lah. Dan sebagainya. Okay. Kalau ada apa-apa lagi nak tanya?
Doktor.
Ya, Nurul. Ya, Nurul.
Saya nak tanya ni, ada kawan tanya saya, dia baru start kerja.
Okey.
Okey, dia baru start kerja. Lepas tu dia ada, orang panggil apa, pemantauan 6 bulan sebelum jadi permanent. Okey, lepas tu dia punya manager dekat department dia, macam hari-hari maki dia apa semua. Lepas tu dia macam takut nak lapor dekat HR macam tu. Lepas tu dia minta pendapat. Dia perlu buat apa?
So record lah. Record dia punya apa ni.
Perkataan tu ke? Maksud dia maki-maki tu?
Record lah. Cina Mesti Cina.
Tak, Melayu.
Melayu?
Melayu.
Kenapa?
Lepas tu dia takut sebab manager dia ni rapat dengan bos besar tu. So dia takut ada apa-apa masalah pada dia. Lepas tu kalau dia nak berhenti tapi parents dia tak bagi sebab kerja tu macam gaji okey semua tu lah.
Dia baru lah kerja kan?
Dah nak masuk 4 bulan lah. Lagi 2 bulan baru dia permanent macam tu.
Sorry to say, dia kerja sebagai apa?
Dia OSH officer.
Oh, OSH officer. Perempuan
Dia
ni?
manager kat perempuan.
Mungkin apa kawan you ni ada pergi buat, dia OT ke apa?
Dia bukan OT, dia dulu ambil environment. Lepas tu dia dapat kerja kat situ.
Dia environmental health lah
Environmental health.
Environmental health ni is quite different from occupational health and safety. Dia kerja kat occupational health and safety.
Dia bahagian safety dekat kilang kereta.
So that's why
Dia baru masuk, lepas tu manager dia tak pernah bagi guide untuk kerja buat. Cuma manager dia cakap, saya nak awak buat ni. Tapi dia tak tunjuk ajar apa semua sebab dia kata, saya assume awak dah belajar sepenuhnya masa degree macam tu.
Itulah masalahnya. Environmental health ni different from health and safety. Dia macam environmental health ni lebih kepada inspektor kesihatan tau. Inspektor kesihatan yang contoh dia buat siasatan tentang apa, contoh macam denggi ke tempat tu, dia check ada tak hazard, biological hazard, nyamuk Aedes apa semua tu kan, ataupun penyakit tikusnya tu, kebersihan. Jadi dia lebih kepada apa ni, bukan di kilang. That's why dia going to be tough for him. Tapi kalau dia cakap dengan dia, you pergi DOSH, bukan DOSH lah, you pergi website DOSH, you tengok guideline apa yang ada kat situ, guideline, and then at the same time kalau ada peluang training kat NIOSH tu, pergi training. Sebab job of safety officer ni different from environmental health officer. Dia ni mesti belajar di UiTM. Dan kesihatan Nurul.
Tapi dia cakap dia sebab dia ada masuk dengan kawan dia di department lain, tapi macam manager tu ajarlah, tunjuk ajar pertama kali, lepas tu boleh buat smoothly. Tapi dia tak, dekat department dia tu manager dia marah semua orang department dia, tapi bila dia tanya orang department dia, tak ada pun yang seorang berani bagi tahu pihak atasan macam tu.
Boleh record lah apa yang dia cakap tu, and then boleh, kalau you nak pergi kepada bos besar tak boleh, tu boleh record jabat buruh lah kan.
Betul, kalau dia buat aduan tu macam tak ada kesan ke? Dia takut lah nak buat aduan kan?
Dia punya positif dan negatifnya lah. Yang dia cakap tu, Nurul cakap dia baik dengan dia punya bos. Itu kocang kan, bila dia baik sangat dengan bos, whatever.
Manager dia pernah cakap lah dekat dia cakap kalau kau lapor pun kau yang kena buang kerja macam tu.
Yalah, okay. That's why I said. Dokumen kan, dan laporkan ke pejabat buruh, Biro Aduan Awam. So benda ni kalau katakan dia been terminate, katakan kawan you been terminate kan, you boleh minta ganti rugi. Minta ganti rugi. Dia kena bayar. Bila kalau pergi mahkamah ke apa, boleh dibayar. Sebab dia tak ikut peraturan dia guna. This one can be violence at work lah. Betul tak? consider violence at work. Violence itu can be mentally torture, can be verbal abuse, verbal abuse, and kalau dapat record kan ataupun video kan, then apa ni, kalau one day dia distress, sakit, dia jatuh sakit ke, pergi kan, tak boleh bekerja, tekanan perasaan, dia boleh bawa pergi mahkamah, boleh guna tort law. Tapi dengan
Dia takkan sebab dia ada tekanan perasaan, dia selalu menangis. Saya tak tahu nak buat apa.
Tekanan perasaan lah kan. Tekanan perasaan tu. Dia sudah, they call it violence at work, verbal abuse, mental.
So dia kena paksa overtime work dengan manager dia.
Perempuan ke apa? Sorry lah. Lelaki perempuan yang kerja.
Lelaki.
Lelaki pun tak tahan kerja kan. Normal lah. Tapi, so dia record kan. Kalau boleh record and be prepared kan. Maksudnya you boleh ambil benda ni. Kalau katakan dia dah tu depressed, become depressed, all that, you boleh bawa pergi ke tengah. Guna tort law tu, yang saya ajar tu, tort law. Boleh saman, minta papasan ganti rugi. Sebab dia, kalau dia dapati, dia boleh first katakan dia record apa semua, and then standby record tu, dan buat apa laporan rasmi pada apa yang bos besar sekali. So bos besar katakan tak nak ambil tahu tak nak take action or that. Actually cakap ni besar ke tu?
Besar.
Besar. Sepatutnya dia boleh komplain kat Health Safety Committee. Dia pun safety officer situ kan. Apa gitu kan. Jadi you tahu undang-undang semua ni.
Tak tahu lagi, dia takut nak ambil sebarang tindakan.
Yalah. Apa ni, tapi documented lah. Dia punya tu prepare, record, apa dia semua buat kan. Dan sampai masa boleh buat apa, kalau dia buat apa, mohon buat laporan kepada yang higher authority, tak ada ambil tindakan, dia boleh pergi apa ni safety officer yang dekat ni lah, DOSH lah. DOSH tu boleh juga, ataupun Biro Aduan Awam. Biro Aduan Awam ni berkaitan dengan apa di jabatan apa buruh ni. Pegawai dia akan datang. Tapi kena rekodkan semua kan, sebagai bukti. Kalau tak setakat cakap, orang tak percaya kan. Dia boleh ya. Okay, good discussion from siapa tadi? Nurul. Nurul ni, Nurul punya boyfriend ni.
Kawan saya dah tu.
Okay. So for next week jangan lupa kita ada, I think topik kita tentang Factory Machinery Act. And baca tu guideline. Alright. Yasmin, ada soalan?
Ni soalan Hafsah.
Hafsah tak ada mulut.
Dia tanya. Dia tengah azan, dia kata suruh tanyakan.
Tanya apa dia?
Yang ada kat sini tulis create autonomous or semi-autonomous team tu, apa maksud dia?
Kat mana tu?
Dekat muka surat 55, guideline.
Guideline apa tadi?
Yang keganasan tu.
Oh, semi-autonomous dengan autonomous kan? Semi-autonomous jadi tak formal lah, lebih kepada yang tak formal. Autonomous ni yang dapat detect benda tu apa ni, dia ada isu kat situ lah. Semi-autonomous ni lebih kepada manual, cara-cara apa ni untuk ambil tindakan dan sebagainya. Autonomous ni dia dah ada polisi, dia ada prosedur, dia dah on apa dia panggil benda semua tu dah ada standard dia. Untuk cegah violent ataupun stres. Ya. Okey, okay, cukup sampai di sini je lah. Okay, next week Cik Fadil akan share. You boleh tanya. Dia untuk kalau dia graduate OT ni, dia sebelum dia join safety kat Petron ni, dia belajar apa dulu? Tanya dia. Macam mana kita nak upgrade?
Flow dia lah.
Apa dia? Safa?
Flow dia nak dari OT nak ke safety health.
So masa I dapat degree, I further study Master Industrial Safety dekat UKM. You all pun kalau nak further study boleh. At the same time, I go to NIOSH. I ambil certification. My master ni, Industrial Safety, recognized by NIOSH. Boleh registered terus sebagai safety officer. Tapi I tak nak lah. Sebab kalau you all orang muda boleh lah. Kalau saya dah berumur ni, quite tough lah jadi safety officer ni kan. So, you boleh tanya tu macam mana proses dia, macam mana ilmu yang dia belajar dekat OT ni dapat membantu dia dan sebagainya. Yeah? Alright semua?
Okay, doktor.
Okay, see you next week. Okay, bye.
Okay, dah.